world. I hope you're having a fabulous day. And if you're seeing the show for the very first time and you like the show, please subscribe, like, and share, and hit the notification bell so when an episode comes out, you will be the first to know. Well, we're still going to keep the spotlight on Dan Wootton, and thank goodness for Byline Times that they are keeping the pressure on. And yesterday they came out with an article talking about all the things that Dan Wootton did at the Sun, and the stress and the bullying that occurred there. So let me just go through some of the things that the article said, and that is Byline Times. And it was titled, Dan Wootton as a serial bully at the Sun, but bosses promoted him as complaints were silent. Well, is it silent? Silenced. Sorry, let me just make sure I get my English right. You know I speak patois, right? Some of y'all don't know I speak patois. And sometimes I try to speak like an American. And sometimes I go back to the patois, and sometimes I come back to the American accent. And I speak another language too, so I always have to be reminding myself the correct grammatical terms. Okay, I have to constantly remind myself about grammar, as some people pointed out in the comments. But no worries, I am human and I make mistakes, and when I make mistakes, unlike Dan Wootton, I could take accountability and I could own up to it. Somebody said in the comments that I should be looking at myself first before I talk about somebody else. I always look at myself. Every day I reflect on my day. I reflect on what I did right, what I did wrong, and how I could correct it. And I'm a conscious person, and that is the reason why I could talk about Dan Wootton and talk about other people out there, because most of them, they're unconscientious. Okay, so thanks to the person for allowing me to clarify that. Okay, I try to live a just life. You know why I try to live a just life? I have 4 children, and I don't want the sins of the father to fall on the children. I want to give my children the best possible chance in life. Okay, so that's the reason why I reflect on myself daily and see where I went wrong, what I could change, what I should not have done, and where I need to make an apology. Okay, and that's the reason why I could stand up for justice. I could stand up for Megan. That's the reason why I could support somebody that is being abused daily, because I wouldn't want it for myself. You understand? I wouldn't want somebody to do it to me, so therefore I am not going to do it to somebody else. So what do? I try to make sure that I'm living right, so that, you know, people are always going to point the finger as how they're pointing the finger at Megan. But I make sure that when they're pointing the finger, they look like outright liars. Just like how they've been lying on our Duchess. Okay, so those critics that are out there, we're not going to stop. We're going to continue pressing on and keeping Dan Wootton's name in the press. That is the right thing to do and the only thing to do. If the UK media is not doing it, well, small channels like ourselves will do it. Okay, sometimes it has to take a little David to come up against the great and big Goliath. and all of us knows how that story ended. Okay, so thank you for reminding me, whoever you were in that comment, or whoever you are. Okay, so here are the things that Byline outlined today about the bullying that took place at the Sun when Dan Wootton was there. I think he worked he worked there for 8 years, 2013 to I think he came to his new job in 2021. Okay, so he was there for about 8 years. So, and in the meantime, while he was there, he was going by, at times, according to Byline, 2 aliases. I guess it was supposed to be how he felt on that particular day. So he could have gone by Martin Brennan, or he could have gone by Maria Joseph. So if he felt like a lady that day, he would go like Maria Joseph. If he felt like a man that day, he would go by Martin Brennan. Or it depends on who he was catfishing. Woo, Dan Woo Woo. Dan Woo Woo. As how people are now calling him in the comments and on social media. Dan Wootton is exposed, hashtag. So here is the bullying that took place at the Sun. They said at least 6 bullying complaints from colleagues were made at the Sun during Dan Wootton's tenure there. And yet, despite of the complaints, they were still promoting Dan Wootton until he became executive editor. Isn't that something else? And while they were paying off people so that they wouldn't continue their complaints, as well as paying people and letting them sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, so that they could be quiet, so that they can silence them and shut them up. That's what the Sun was doing. As I said yesterday, remember Jeremy Clarkson came from the Sun, and just imagine that vile article that he wrote on Meghan and was able to publish online. So I am not surprised that the Sun would pay people to be quiet, even though they were being harassed. It just speaks volume about that organization. Okay? So they also said during Dan Wootton's time at the Sun, people were discriminated against based on their age. So if you weren't young and chic and maybe male, young male, because that's what he likes, if you weren't that, you were bullied and most likely forced out. And another thing again they did, and let me use that word, constructive dismissal. So constructive dismissal is literally somebody getting so frustrated and tired of their situation, their work situation, that they just get up and leave. So you're not directly firing the person, but your behavior is indirectly causing the person to fire themselves. Okay? So those are the actions, or those were the things that was taking place at the Sun. I'm not done yet. There's a lot. I am just on number 3. So that place was a cesspool, let me tell you. And they said that some of the witnesses said there was sexual harassment under Wootton's tenure at the Sun. And I will go into what those sexual harassment was. Okay? So And so Wootton, they said, according to Byline Times, Wootton would press people into telling them what their sexuality was, whether they were gay, bi, or whatever it is. And even people who had families, even people who were married, he was disrespecting them by pressing them to say what their sexual orientation was. On the job place, you ever hear anything like that? I have never ever seen anything like that nowhere I have worked. Okay? So literally there was just a toxic culture and bullying and harassment at the Sun while Dan Wootton was there. So one of the things they said was, if you were on Dan Wootton's side, you would be worked like a slave. And if you dare cross him or you weren't on his side, he would harass you. He would literally make your life miserable, according to Byline. He was sabotaging other journalists. And I could see why he would be doing that. Because Dan Wootton appears to me like a narcissist. He loves himself. When you look at those beanie eyes of his, you see those little beanie eyes. People in the comments talked about there's something troubling about Dan Wootton's eyes. So those little beanie eyes of Dan Wootton, when you look at it, you can clearly see deep into it. I cannot even look at him because he's so disturbing. When you look into those beanie eyes, you can really see narcissism in those beanie eyes. So I could just imagine that those journalists that probably had a story there or were writing something, and Dan Wootton wasn't the person who came up with it or had the scoop, that he would try to sabotage these individuals. Because guess what? A narcissist always wants all the glory and all the praise and all eyes on them. They're like, look at me, look at what I'm doing. So I can just imagine how Dan Wootton was behaving as a jealous person as he is, or as he comes across on his news program right now. Some people at the Sun, where Dan Wootton worked for 8 years, were so stressed. Some of them was losing their hair, and they described somebody as being suicidal. I mean, to have that kind of pressure on you day in, day out, going to work and having to deal with the person that they're describing as Dan Wootton, which comes across to me as a monster, you would feel uncomfortable. You would feel tired of life. You would feel that you want to end your life when you are bombarded day in and day out by your superior, making you feel worthless, harassing you, tormenting you, disrespecting you. You would feel like you want to end it all. But thank God that person didn't do so. So you could see this guy, if what they're saying according to Byline Times is true, that guy is definitely the cruel of all cruel. That's how I could describe him. Making people miserable to the point where they would want to take their life. That's exactly what Caroline Flack did. They made her life so miserable to the point where she took her life. The same thing they did over there in England to Meghan. They made her life so miserable to the point where she became suicidal, to the point where she had suicidal ideation. That is exactly how they roll over there. A bunch of wicked people. Okay? So all of that is playing on people's mental health. That's what he does. He plays with people's mental health. And that is the worst thing that you can do. Play with people psychologically and emotionally. And so the person that is I think she's the chief executive editor now at The Sun currently. And I think her name is Victoria. Her name is Victoria Newton. That's her name. Oh, there's so much to keep up with. Sorry, all these names. Oh my goodness. Yes, Victoria Newton. That's her name. She's the current editor. She's the one that allowed Clarkson to write that vile article on Meghan. So when she came over there, she and Dan Wootton butted heads, and he sort of like rallied with the people and them that were for him, and she rallied with the people and them that was for her. And it's terrible that you have to work in an environment where there's so much division and there's so much conniving and so much cutthroat and all of that. That is not a productive environment. But by the way, the kind of articles that they write anyways, I'm not surprised by the environment but of which these articles are coming from. It's certainly the way that Byline is describing those situations, what the bullying and the climate at The Sun. It is a cesspool. It is a dirty place, and that's the reason why we're getting those types of articles from that type of environment. Filth, trash, tabloid, lies, conspiracies, and whatnot. Okay? So Byline continued to say that some of the things that Dan Wootton did while he was at The Sun, he was using his Twitter platform. Now, what's calling the kettle black here? He was using his Twitter platform to bully people as well, to say things and write things about people using his Twitter platform. So he's now calling on people who are calling him out on Twitter and calling them vile when he was doing the same thing on Twitter and going as he was a public figure, so he had more power. The little people on Twitter that is responding to certain posts don't have the kind of massive following that Dan Wootton had. He had like about 500,000 followers. I don't know what he has right now. So he had a far reach. So whatever he said on Twitter was more damaging to some person who has maybe 1,000 or 2,000 followers. So this is like apple and oranges right now. For him to say the people on Twitter that is raging a war against him are vile, Dan Wootton, is the vile person, because he had 500,000 people reaching out to and spreading misinformation to. And you know what they say, you tell one person one thing, they tell it to another person, they tell it to another person, and by the time it gets to whoever the last person is a totally complete different story. So Dan Wootton, for you to talk about how social media is this and social media is that, you have used social media for your convenience when you wanted to, and now you're finding that social media is something bad. Wow. It's shame on you, Dan Wootton. Shame on you. Clearly, you have no excuse for what you have done. And I am still waiting for you to clarify, Dan Wootton. You say you haven't done anything criminal. What have you done? Catfishing is not a crime, because a lot of people did it and didn't go to jail. I don't know if it's a crime. You guys tell me in the comment. It is wrong to deceive people, to misrepresent yourself in general. It is just wrong, wrong, wrong. But what have you done, Dan Wootton, that is not a crime? You say you have changed. That's what you said. You've made some mistakes. What are those mistakes? Do they fall in all of those things that we've just listed? Paying somebody to keep quiet, is that a crime? Is that what you're talking about with some in the category of mistake? We're still waiting to hear from you, Dan, as to those mistakes that you have made. Anyways, we're now going to stop following the story and putting a light on it and amplifying it so that other people can hear it, because silence to me is saying that you agree to something, or something, there's no there, right? When you're silent. So I'm not going to be silent. I'm going to speak up. I'm going to report back on what The Guardian and what Byline is saying. Well, in other royal news, you know, and Dan Wootton really doesn't have any shame. He is still reporting on Meghan. He's still reporting on Meghan and talking all kinds of nonsense about her. Still going on about Air Force One and how Meghan and Harry were told no, they couldn't ride back with the Bidens after the Queen's funeral. And, you know, still having people on talking about what Meghan is doing and what she's not doing. This guy has no shame. But, you know, I am just grateful that Meghan is in California, away from the United Kingdom, where Dan Wootton cannot get people inside of the palace to share story and to spy on the Sussexes so they can know what is going on in their lives. They in California, Meghan and Harry, they have things on lockdown. And when they're ready, they will spring it on them. All what they've been doing is putting out misinformation out there, waiting for Meghan and Harry to fail. But they are the cream of the crop. And as you know, there's a great saying: cream always rises to the top. And Meghan and Harry is going to rise. They will rise. You know, as Meghan said in her last podcast, she said they did everything to bury her. But little did they know she was a seed. And we know what happens to a seed. It grows, it blossoms into a big, strong tree. Okay? So, let them keep wondering what WME is working on with Meghan. Okay? Let them keep worrying about that. I just hope and wish that Meghan can spring out something like a Tyler Perry movie or something like this for you know, for Netflix, or even open up her own production. You know, that would be so great to see, and it would literally shut them up. It would be like a punch in the face for these fools over there. But let them keep talking while the Sussexes are living grand in their 19,000 square foot place, 14 acres of land, 14 bathroom, living luxurious. That is what that is killing them. She's living in a palace while they have to go on in their little flats in London. And that is what they cannot deal with. Okay? And Harry living comfortable with his beautiful children and his beautiful wife. And I know Meghan is cooking good meals for Harry. She's a great chef, cooking great meals for Harry. That's why Harry looks so handsome. He looks well fed. He looks well loved. And when they see that, they are getting mad. Let them keep getting mad. That's the reason why they are wishing for Harry and Meghan marriage to fall apart. Okay? They didn't get one of those haggard English rose in England. Or roses are not haggard. Roses are wilted. They didn't get a wilted rose over there with a shape like Kate over there in the United Kingdom for Harry And now they're jealous because Harry have a real woman, a woman of substance, okay? The beautiful Rose, that's what he has, okay? So they're just mad because guess what? Biracial woman has Harry, okay? And I don't know why these people didn't see that coming. Why they didn't see that Harry would have eventually found somebody. Harry, do you see how comfortable Harry is around people of color? I saw this coming a long time ago. I saw this coming a mile away. The way Harry integrates and feels so comfortable among people of color. Okay? These people need to stop and give up the nonsense. Okay? So they said that Prince William will be visiting New York in September. And I am thinking that I might go to wherever he is when he comes to New York. They said he's coming to talk about climate change with that Earthshot prize thing that he created. And I want to go down there wherever he is and ask him, why has he been a Judas to his brother? I wouldn't mind asking him that. And a little bit of booing. I think I will go in September. I think I just may. I'd like to record that and put that on my channel for sure. Okay, so he's coming and I might just well pay him a visit. And also too, you know, and the irony here is this guy talking about saving the planet, global warming, this and that. And this man takes helicopters like taxis. Could you imagine? What a hypocrite. Every one of them in the royal family, a bunch of hypocrites. They always saying something to people, what people should do, but they're not doing it. Okay? Do what I say, but not what I do. Typical of people. But Harry also will have his Invictus game in September as well. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. And it's going to be great. They will see that Harry and Meghan are together. They will see that for sure. And right after that, Omid's book is coming out. I don't know when the Heart of the Invictus is coming out. So there is a lot around the corner. And I'm so looking forward to, you know, the Invictus game in Germany. And the irony here also too is they always say how every time the Cambridges or the Wales right now have their event, Meghan and Harry is planning things around their event, or at the same time the event is occurring. But the Invictus game was on the calendar for a very long time. Now, look at this. William is coming to New York exactly around that time. So, they're living their lives. They're doing whatever they want, whenever they want. They're using whatever dates they want. Shouldn't Harry and Meghan be granted the same favor to be able to come out and do whatever they want? Okay? So for them to say that Meghan and Harry is always coming out during the times that they have their events, Meghan and Harry should be able to come out anytime they want to come out. The calendar doesn't belong to anybody. Okay? So, look, he's coming out. Nobody's saying anything. I just wanted to bring that up there. Let me just make sure my clothes is fixed, because yesterday I had these two long things hanging there. I don't have a mirror in front of me, so sometimes I can't see what I look like. Yes. So they said that Charles is also getting a new PR person, but apparently that person worked for Charles some time ago, and the person is somebody of color. And I think Charles is strategically making that move to hire somebody of color to pretend that the royal family is not racist. The royal family is a racist family. Harry said they're not. Their actions tell me that they're racist. I will go down saying that they're a racist group. And so this is nothing more than fronting. That's what they're doing here. And there's so many things out there right now with the whole slavery thing that the royal family had engaged in. The person in the royal family questioning Archie's color, all of those things. They even said that Omid might name that person in his book. I wish he would. I just wish he would. So there's a lot of things, plus how they've treated Meghan. So they're trying to bring a black person in front to act like they are not racist, but they truly are racist. And they were supposed to bring up the number of people that work for the royal family. They had a quota that they wanted to meet to diversify the workforce of the royal family. They didn't meet that quota. That is what they should be really working on if they want to say that they're not racist, instead of hiring this one woman of color to be a front for them, to say that they're not racist. Okay, they're not fooling me. I see right through Charles trying to put a black person in the front there to act like they love black people. Please give me a break. They don't. Look at how they treated Meghan. Just look at how they treated Meghan. Look at how they sold her out. And if people still don't believe that William and his team sold out Meghan and Harry to the press, even allegedly to Dan Wootton, they are definitely naive if they don't believe that. Okay? Now finally, there was a big to-do about Daniel Craig and Rachel Weisz. They were saying that Daniel Craig, let me turn off my AC. It's making a little noise, so I'm going to turn it off. And somebody told me it was making noise and it was sounding like water was falling. Sometimes that happens in air conditioners. So the light is always, it brings heat. And I'm somebody, I don't like to be hot. I'm up in my age, in my years. I'm telling you guys, and when you get to a certain age, there's always this heat. So I don't like to be hot. But anyways, as I was saying, they were claiming that Daniel Craig and his wife, Rachel Weisz, was disrespectful to Kate because they did not curtsy to Kate when they were in the royal box at Wimbledon. Now, I don't know who should be curtsying to who, really. Because when you think about it, Daniel Craig and Rachel Weisz, they have really worked hard all their lives and to become where they are. Kate has waited all her life to become queen and to marry William. She has not done anything for anybody to be curtsying to her, to be bowing to her. Excuse me. She should be bowing to them. They have worked hard. They are talented people. I don't know. This woman cannot even read from a teleprompter. All the things that she's doing, those charity work, putting on those frocks of hers, those old-time clothes of hers, and going places and waving to people. That is the only thing, by the way, she's good at. Waving to people. So, for them to say that these actors disrespected her, I think she disrespected them. All she does, she's a clothes horse. All she does is put these old antiquated dresses on her, walk around the place and wave. When they claim that she spearheads certain charity, or she's responsible for coming up with this, or childhood this or childhood that. I don't even know, because I'm not paying attention to the girl. But that's not her idea. Those ideas were thought of by other people and they presented to her. That's why she cannot even speak on them, because it's not hers. When something is yours, you can talk about it because you're so comfortable. You know what it is in and out. When Megan does things, she knows about it, so she can stand up and just talk about it like, in a way that she's comfortable, because that is her brainchild. But you have that woman, none of these things are her brainchild. So she cannot talk about it. She cannot talk about it freely and eloquently, or she cannot articulate the ideas because they are not hers. She didn't think it up. She didn't spend time on it. She doesn't know it. So when she comes to speak on it, not even through a teleprompter, the woman can speak on the thing. And you're telling me Daniel Craig, who are talented, who have worked hard all their lives, that they disrespected Kate. That they should have stood up and curtsied to Kate. It is crazy. Meanwhile, the people were nice to her. They did reach out and shake her hand. What else do they want? These people are sick. Who is Kate? Kate and Baldy William. Weighty Kate. Lazy Kate. Who are these people? Please. Did you see, by the way, how she was going Google Gaga over one of the other celebrity that was there? You could see it, and William is there looking at her like, wait a minute. That's what she does when she goes places. You can tell that woman has an unhappy life because she fawns over all of these men. Oh, you know what? As I said, they don't like people to talk about Kate, but they love to talk about Megan. It's good for Megan, but it's not good for them. You know what? I'm going to do a show specifically on Kate's events. I am definitely going to do a show on Kate's event, and I'm going to critique it. Okay? Every time she goes out there, I'm going to critique it, because that's what they're doing to Megan, and that's what I'm going to do to them. Let's see how they like it. They don't like it when people do it to them. They say people are disrespecting Kate, but they disrespect Meghan and Harry every day. Two can play. Well, anyways, on that note, guys, I will see you all on the next episode. We're not going to stop until we get down to the bottom of this Dan Wootton story. Is it Dan Wootton, or allegedly Martin Brannan, or Maria Joseph? Oh, we'll stay tuned to that. Anyways, guys, take care and bye, and make sure to subscribe, like, and share. And yes, stay tuned for the next show. Bye. Take care. Oh my goodness. I hope I